What's up, everyone? Kevin here from Skywatcher, and welcome to another episode of the What's Up Webcast. We do this every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here at the Skywatcher USA YouTube channel. We cover everything from what's up in the nighttime sky to equipment to helpful tips and tricks. And of course, at the end of the month, we have a special guest to talk about their specialty in the field of astronomy. Now, today we are doing Tech Talk with Alex. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Alex back on. There's Alex right there. This is we do these kind of quarterly where I sit down with our lead tech support, which is Alex, and we just talk shop and all the kinds of things that are going on. And if you guys have any questions, we're here to answer them. If you like what you see here on the What's Up Webcast, please go ahead and leave a like. Please subscribe to the channel. We know most of you are not subscribed, so please subscribe to the channel. It lets us know we're doing a good job. And of course, if you want cool swag, you can head over to skywatcher.threadless.com and pick up some cool shirts that also support the channel. So, hey, Alex, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, Kevin? You hear me okay?
Pretty good. It's cold by Arizona standards. So
Yeah, pretty much.
it's a bit chilly. We got a ton of rain, and then the skies cleared up last night, and now it's super cold. So that's how that works. But it's winter.
Temperature literally just plunged right off the edge.
Yes. All right. So if you guys are not familiar with the Tech Talk with Alex, again, Alex is our lead tech. If you call up support or email support, he's the one that you'll likely get. And we get a lot of questions about product thoughts and ideas and all kinds of fun stuff. So we're going to dive into that today. I will let you know that a lot of this is probably going to be focused on solar because we are inching very close to the total solar eclipse on April 8th, 2 months from now, as of yesterday. So if you don't have your stuff,
get on it.
You probably aren't going to get it. So
No.
you can see Alex behind him. He's got all his solar stuff hanging out, ready to go. But Alex, you've said that we've been getting a lot of questions about solar and the eclipse and stuff like that. So what's kind of some questions people have got going right now?
Yeah, we're getting all kinds of questions right now. People want to know how the solar quests work. What kind of filters to use? Things like what am I going to expect for the day? How do I line my mount during the day? So we're getting all kinds of questions right now, and all you got to do is call in, and we'll take that, or you can shoot us an email, and we can handle those questions. But I think we're going to focus a lot on solar today, right?
Probably. I think that's a big question. I know probably one that I've seen a lot lately, and it's a really simple one to actually answer, is how do I pick a solar filter for my camera or my lens? And I know you've got yours in the back there, and it really just requires you to measure the front outer diameter of the telescope. We like using calipers because they're very precise, or Alex has a straight edge ruler right there. But basically what you're going to want to do is measure the outer diameter of the front cell or dew shield, depending on the design. And then you can apply that measurement with a particular company that makes solar filters. And you want a white light front mounted solar filter, which is best if you're going to be in totality, because only if you're in totality is when you take that filter off to shoot it. Only in totality, and make sure you know what you're doing. But Alex has a couple back there. It looks like you have a glass one, and then you have is that one of the fold up Daystar ones?
Yeah. That's a fold up from Daystar. And then that one back there's actually
origami filter.
Yep. And then that one's a glass one. I think that came from Spectrum Telescope. Over here we have a Lunt Solar System on the 80 ED. So got some nice stuff there. I know.
Yeah, if you need.
I did recently see that Daystar is sending a lot of stuff out from their site. They've got all the boxes. So if you're gonna order stuff, order now. It comes out in little nice packages.
Yeah, these little fold-up filters, if you need something like immediately, they're cheap and they work on a large. I think I have a couple of them still. I gave my big one to a news crew during the October eclipse so they could put it on their lens, and they kept that one. But yeah, it's just the same Mylar film. and it folds up really convenient and easy, and they're really affordable. So if you need one on a whim, those Daystar fold up filters are actually really, I think Celestron's got some too, as
Celestron
well,
has
but
some as well, I think. And then there's our friends over at Spectrum. They do like the filter on glass, which I really like because if something happened to the filter, just looking at the front of it, you would see the crack. There would have to actually be a crack in that to affect the filters. So they're kind of nice. The paper ones, you might see a little bit of waving on the front. It's supposed to be like that. Don't worry about it. If you get one and it's loose, we don't want them tight because if they're tight, they can crack, they can pinch, they can tear on the edge. So when you're talking about the paper ones, there's going to be a little bit of loose foil in it. So if you get one and the foil looks like it's got some bubbles or wrinkles in it, that's perfectly fine. It is not going to affect your image.
And again, you're just going to want to measure the outer diameter of your lens or your telescope. If you're using a dew shield, you want to measure the dew shield's diameter, and then you want to get the appropriate filter for it. I know Alex has some filters from Spectrum. I've worked with Spectrum before. They're really good. There's Thousand Oaks Optical. There's AstroZap. Daystar makes filters, white light filters. But do keep in mind that we're less than 2 months away now. So a lot of these companies are going to get really inundated if they aren't already. And you're really skirting it close if you don't have stuff already. And those Eclipse glasses are going to get really ridiculous here soon if you don't have them already, because those are the most affordable and most popular. So yeah, you're just going to want to make sure with that. Now, solar filters like the hydrogen alpha, the narrowband solar filters, which you can see behind Alex there, the Lunt 50 right there. Those are good if you're watching the partial portion of it, but during totality, they're kind of worthless. They're just not great to use for that, because when it goes dark, you need to be able to pull that filter off only in totality again. And it's a lot easier just to use the front mounted white light because you can get focused and ready to go. And when totality comes, you can pop the filter off only in totality, and take your shot and then put it back on. And there's a really cool app, and we're going to have the creator of it on at the end of the month, which is Solar Eclipse Timer. And that's the app that I used in 2017. And it gives you call outs of when to pull the filter off, when to put it back on. It's a great app, and I highly recommend it. But we're going to have the creator on at the end of the month talking about that.
Yeah. You definitely want to get that filter back on. When the sun's hitting the edge, get those photos of that diamond ring as it leaves.
Yeah. Can you wipe off the film filters if there is a smudge? If you're going to do it, the smudge probably won't affect it at all anyway. But if you're going to do it, you could probably use like a lint-free cloth, like an optical cloth to clean it. It'd probably be okay.
Like a Zeiss cloth.
Yeah,
or
something like that.
You might try blowing it too. It just maybe debris. Get it loose. If you've got a nice optical brush, you could probably use that as well. Just be careful. The other thing with those filters, before you use it, hold it up to light. Just make sure there's no pinholes or cracks or anything in it. You want to make sure that you're safe.
Yeah, that's a really good point. As any solar filter, before you use it, mainly the white lights, the narrowband stuff's a lot different. But hold a white light filter up either to the sun or a light in the house, and just look for any pinholes in there. And if you've got pinholes, then you really should look at getting another filter. Someone in the chat here has one of the ND 100,000 filters. Okay. I think you have one, and I've got one as well. Nisi makes one now that's actually really nice. I like theirs because it's got a knurled cell on it, so it's easy to get on and off. Someone's getting a double image in the chat, though, when they use an ND 100,000. Any thoughts? You're a photographer, so you would know maybe a little bit more about that. So,
double image.
He's using it on a Nikon P900. There's this heart buttons in the way. I think it's a P900X.
Oh,
I'm not familiar with that one. Nikon P900X. This is one of those super zoom. Yeah, it's one of those super zoom.
okay.
Like,
Yeah, so there's a lot of elements and a lot of things going on inside that lens. You might have to make sure that it's like exactly centered because if it's off at all, um, those objectives in there could actually make it look like a double image. But if you're exactly centered on it in the frame, I think it should get rid of that double image. But I would play with it because I don't know the camera that well.
yeah, and every camera, every lens combo is going to act differently. So it's really hard for you to be like, oh, this is this and this is that because everything acts differently. But if you're getting a double image, those super zoom, like one shot cameras, they're kind of cool because their lenses have a massive amount of optical zoom. But again, like Alex said, there's a lot of glass in there. And you can easily have issues with that as far as reflections go. And it might be the filter itself. It's hard to say who made it. Some companies have better quality than other companies. So just because it's an ND 100,000 doesn't mean it's the end all be all either. So, but I've shot with the Nisi one. It works really well. I'm sure there are plenty of other companies out there that make ND 100,000s that are good. Don't stack ND filters though. You'll get all kinds of issues with that, and you really run the risk of damaging your equipment. So
Yeah, and if you're thinking about using a welding mask, do yourself a favor. Just go spend $20 and get yourself a white filter. You're gonna have such better results. The welding masks are okay, but they really diffuse the light, so you don't get sharp edges. You can get double images. Um, there's things that can happen. Also, prime lenses seem to work better when you're dealing with stuff like this. So if you have a prime lens, that's my go-to because there's less elements in there, there's less moving parts. They just seem to get a better image and a clearer image.
and if you're doing full frame, I'd probably recommend at least 400 millimeters. If you could get up to 600, that's even better. Crop sensor, 300, 400 is probably pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And then Alex, you short 4/3, so it
Yep.
should be pretty similar though. Around 400 would probably be my recommendation for every sensor. Um, that's
Yeah.
enough image scale to get it all. So
Yeah, 400 on a like an SAP on a APS-C would be, I don't know, about 600, I think. And then the 300 on a 4/3 is going to be 600. So that's kind of the range you kind of want to stick yourself in. But get out and practice. You got 2 months. Put your filter on, point it at the sun, shoot some pictures, see how much space you have around it. Because one of the things we want to think about is we're at the solar max right now. So there's going to be a lot of activity going on around the sun. So if you're in tight, say you're like this big, you're going to lose all that activity going around. But if you have a smaller sun with a kind of a wider, you're going to get all those rays coming off, all that energy coming off the sun.
yeah, and that's what you want to see is you want to see the corona and such. So you want to make sure you're not just zoomed in on the sun. Like when you're doing a partial eclipse, it's all about the disk of the sun. In totality, it's the disk of the sun, and then you get the corona there, and that's you're gonna need some extension and field of view with that. I shot the 2017 one with an Esprit 100 and the 7D Mark II, which we're actually streaming with right now. That worked pretty well. I was pretty happy with that field of view. I don't know the degree field there, but I think this year I'm going to do an Esprit 150 with the reducer, but I'll be full frame. So
Yep.
it's a similar equivalent field of view when you put them all together. So
Yeah. Hey, and make sure to think outside the box too, guys. If you've got a second camera, you can put a wide field lens on it, so like a wide angle. Set up a nice foreground, maybe some trees or a field, and put it on a static mount. It can go right on a tripod. It doesn't have to move. Just kind of figure out where the eclipse is going to start and end, and set up a time lapse. Shoot a picture every 5 minutes. Just forget about that camera and do your thing. When it gets done, you're going to just have a real nice, travel path of it. And later you can go back in and post and put that together and make, a pretty picture or whatever. But it's kind of a nice thing if you have a secondary camera just to set it up and let it run and capture everything. If you're wide field, you're not even going to need a filter on that because it's just like any picture with the sun in it. It's not going to affect your sensor. It's not going to hurt the camera if you're shooting really wide field.
Let's see. Can you get good tracking with a harmonic mount for solar viewing and a 130 hydrogen alpha telescope? Well, I guess it would kind of depend on the harmonic mount. If we're talking AM5s, I wouldn't dare put a Lunt 130 on a harmonic AM5. That's a lot of money on a mount that is nowhere near balanced at that point. Now, if we're talking like a Rainbow Astro 3 RST 300, that would handle that. But 100, that's the one thing I don't like about the harmonic mounts, and it really doesn't matter who makes them at that point, is a lot of people like to over mount stuff on those things. Just because it says it handles it doesn't mean it's rigid. And I've worked with people on the last Eclipse who had Star Adventures that were really loaded, and they ended up kicking the tripods, and that was it. So I guess if you're going to put one on there, you better make sure A, it's balanced, B, it's polar aligned, and C, it is
stable.
Got
Very
a
stable.
good tripod on it.
Yeah.
So now if you're doing something small, like a smaller scope, like a 100 or an 80 or even a 60, no problem at all. Go for it. But the 130H alpha telescopes, you really should have a larger mount, something like an EQ6R or a Los Mondi G11, and then it's just a more serious setup. But it's all, there's not enough in that question to really be able to give you a firm answer. But if I just had to say off the cuff, I'd say no. I wouldn't advise doing it, but that's just me.
Yeah, and it's not only weight. I mean, you're talking about a longer telescope, and when you start putting a longer telescope
the moment arm is the killer.
On a small, pivot point, then we start risking it going forward or backwards or other ways.
And that's really the issue with refractors right now. I know we brought this up before because like the ASCAR 185 has come out, so there's this really affordable 7-inch refractor that's in the world now. And one of the big issues with these is refractors don't scale very well in a manageable format. So when you get above that 6-inch size, you need a mount that's going to accommodate it. And I understand there's the weight. Weight is not a problem with the refractor. You know what you're getting into. It weighs 30 pounds. Great. What you get into trouble with is the moment arm or the length of the telescope. And being that the objective lens is so far off the center axis of the mount and the camera or eyepiece is so far off the center axis, theoretically, let's just say we have a 7-inch refractor that weighs 40 pounds. Theoretically, an EQ6R should be able to handle something like that. But the gear of an EQ6R, the main ring gears, are 3.5, 4 inches in diameter, somewhere in there. That's a pretty small gear handling that. So you're going to get a lot of shake. And if you walk by it, you get some vibrations. If the wind goes by, there's just a lot of issues that can come from it. So really, if you're getting into the big refractors, you want a mount that's probably the next level up for payload capacity. That's why I'm saying if you're using a harmonic mount, you probably need something like the RST 300, which is a much larger mount than like an AM5. So, but there's no reason a harmonic mount can't track the sun just like any other mount. It just, the payload is going to really come down to it.
Yep, you have to consider that, especially, different equipment, the things you're putting together, and the weights. It's always important to think about kind of the whole package.
Yeah. Let's see. Now, I know there's a lot of people who are looking for travel mounts, and for the solar eclipse, the Solar Quest is a great mount for it. We did have some people that reported to have some weird tracking anomalies during the annular eclipse. I didn't see it firsthand, and there wasn't a lot of them, but enough But talking to people, if you have a Solar Quest mount, do you have one, Alex, or is
I
that an
do.
AZGTI back there?
Yeah, that
Um, yeah, the Solar Quest is an awesome mount, especially if you're using small telescopes or lenses, because you just push the button and it goes.
yep.
As long as it's powered correctly, make sure you're using all double A's or a power pack or something like that. Do not use a 9 volt. You will damage the board and it's over. So, but the Solar Quest, like Alex has back there with his Lunt 50 on it, they're extraordinarily accurate for that initial alignment. But when you get to totality and annularity, if you're doing an annular solar eclipse, you need to cover the sensor because it gets confused on what's going on. So we find it's best to just cover the sensor. I use black electrical tape for mine and didn't have any issue with it. So I've never had tracking issues with the Solar Quest mounts. But that came from our engineering team. If you're having issues with tracking, just cover that little sensor for the 4 minutes. It'll still be fine. But
Yeah, one other thing I've noticed with it is if you're in an open field, all you really have to do is just set it left of the sun and hit the on button. It does everything.
mm-hmm.
But like me in my backyard, I've got a house that's south of where I'm shooting. So I actually have to get it kind of above the building because when it sees a building or a hedge or something right in front of it, it'll kind of confuse the camera. So all you got to do is push the power button and push the up button. It'll get it moving and that'll move it at a fast speed. Once you get it up, it should be able to locate the sun. But at that point, I basically put it on the sun and I'm done. And it'll track all day. So there is one little kind of thing. If you have something in front of you, you might have to manually get it up above that object for the camera to find the sun.
And if you actually want to take the time before you go on your Eclipse adventure or just use it in general, let's say you bought it and you have your own solar telescope, you can actually calibrate the mount to align with your telescope. If you go on the manual about midway down under the control section, it's kind of a Control-Alt-Delete-esque kind of format where you hold the power button and then hold the joystick in a particular way. But you can center the telescope or lens or whatever configuration you have, and you can actually calibrate it to where it will center with your optic. So you can actually train it. It's usually really close out of the box anyway, but if you want it to where it just nails it, you can actually calibrate them together, and it works really well. It's very easy to do. Just open up the manual. It's a pretty short manual, but it'll show you how to calibrate to a third-party optic. And it's once you're done, you just turn it on the next time and it hits it.
And by the way, we have them in stock. Our dealers have them in stock. If you need one, go to our dealers, look it up. The Solar Quest is a fantastic.
Yeah, we pushed
mount.
hard to get those.
And
we pushed hard to get
them,
those.
So. And I use it all the time because I love looking at the sun. So I mean, I go out, I hit the button, I come back, it's already aligned on the sun. I don't have to do anything. So it makes it really nice.
Yeah. Do you have any solar setup that you would recommend for the upcoming eclipse, Alex?
Well, I have. You see the Lunt with the solar system on it now during totality. That's not going to be a thing because it's designed to actually look at the sun. But I have a little drop-in filter I've made that is actually a T-ring. It's a very thin T-ring with a 1.25" nose on it. And I can literally just drop it in, refocus, shoot a picture, take it out, and then keep viewing. I like the visual. I really do enjoy the visual part, but I do want to get a photo, too. So,
and that's one thing I've learned with the eclipses is you want to enjoy them. Luckily, this one, if you're in the middle, it's 4.5-ish minutes, so you've got some time to mess around. The last one, 2017, was like half that. It was still really cool, but 4.5 minutes will feel like an eternity for this one. How risky is taking off the filter too soon and putting it on too late? Well, you'll have to answer the cauterized sensor on your camera. If that happens, you will burn a hole into your camera sensor, and it happened numerous times in 2017 as well. So that's why that Solar Eclipse Timer app that you can get is worth it. It's free to get the app, but then I think they do charge per eclipse. It's not that much money. It's completely worth it because that timer will keep you dead on track of put the filter back on, take the filter off. Here comes Bailey's beads. Here comes the diamond ring, blah, 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 blah. That app I swear by, because I've done it myself, and it made shooting my first total solar eclipse in 2017, having never done it before, easy, and nothing got damaged. So please look at that app. It's worth it.
Hey,
It's
and on the
more of the
subject
investment of protecting you.
on the subject of easy, we've got 8 weeks. So get out and use your equipment. Test your equipment. Do it a dozen times. I don't want to call on Friday, April 5th, saying, I just took it out of the box and it's not working. You know, at that point, there's nothing I'm not going to be able to do anything for you because it's just too late. So get out, practice, put it up every weekend, set it up every weekend, shoot the sun. Just, you know, what the heck? If you do it once a week, every weekend, you know, you're going to use it 8 times, you know, so at least you're going to be familiar. And really, Kevin and I have both done this. Got to a location, set everything up, went to start doing stuff, and went, something's wrong. So literally, we shut everything down. I get out my level. I check my level. I check my mount. I check my polar alignment. I check all my settings. I go back. I fire everything. I start it up, and it's like, usually that takes care of it. But that's me building my routine. If you go through and you set up, you do something over and over and over again, practice doesn't make perfect. It makes permanent. So when we do something over and over and over again, we build this methodical kind of setup that we go through. So if there's ever an issue, you just reboot, reset, and you're ready to go. Get out. Practice, guys. You got some time. Let's get this all dialed in before the 8th. So on the 8th, we can actually sit back and enjoy the eclipse.
Yeah, this isn't an event you're going to want to last minute at this point with your equipment. Like, I understand how polar aligning works. If you have the luxury of going somewhere and setting up the night before, and you can polar align your mount and keep it set up, way better. But you can get pretty close during the day. I think Polar Scope Alignment has a weird daytime polar alignment in the app. I haven't messed with that, but that's something to check out as well. So, non-eclipse question.
Oh,
I figured we'd switch gears since it came up in the chat. How portable is the HEQ5 mount, and would it be suitable for my 100mm size refractor? Looking for something with the efficiency of an EQ6R, but more portable. It's should. Again, this really comes down to how big is the 100mm refractor? Is it an f12 or is it like an Esprit 100 that's f5.5? But for the most part, the HEQ5 has been a bulletproof mount. I know Trevor and Ashley from Astro Backyard use theirs. I don't even know how old that mount is, but they're very solid and you could do stuff with it.
Yeah, and it's a well-tested mount. It's been in our lineup for a while, and you know, hundreds and thousands of people have used it. It's a fantastic little mount.
Yeah, so I think you'd be happy with the HEQ5 on a 100mm refractor. It should be a nice little combo. The nice thing about that mount is it's not that heavy either, and I like that the counterweight bar retracts up into it. One less thing that you're gonna lose. Yeah. Back to eclipses really quick. Speaking of practice, I need to look at the sun this weekend. The timing in my area is 12:52 to 3:21. We'll have to worry about a meridian flip during transit.
Nah, I think you'll be okay.
Yeah, I think
yeah, I think you'll
you'll be okay, but I would go get like a planetarium app like Stellarium or Sky Safari and actually chart it out. We have so many digital tools now that there's no reason you can't actually plan the whole thing. I have friends who automate the whole sequence and they don't worry about it. But I would think at 12:52 you'd be okay. Sometimes you have mounts that can go past the meridian, so you could actually kind of set the mount a little bit back and then it will just track into the west at that point. But go into an app and actually play with it in the location that you're going to be and get a good idea of what you're going to need But yeah, if you're using an equatorial mount, you need to pay attention to where the meridian's going to be, because if you have to do a flip, that's going to be a problem if you're doing a time lapse. Most of the time, if you're doing totality, it's 4.5 minutes. I don't even know if I'm going to worry about shooting the lead up and out of the eclipse. I think I'm just doing totals, but that's only 4.5 minutes, so you should be able to get by with it. So
Yeah, and on the other side, when you did mention apps, so I want to get into that a little bit. You can go and look at a whole bunch of things. You can check Google Earth for the place you want to shoot from. There's a photographer's ephemeris for where the sun's going to be in position. There's the live sky if you want to, try to figure out where it's going to be. So there's all kinds of great apps out there, just like Kevin mentioned. Um, other things about the day, keep it easy. Take the day off. Check for local events. After the event, plan on sticking around for a while because everybody's going to be leaving, and you don't want to sit in traffic for 4 hours trying to get back to your hotel.
No.
Check the local weather.
Don't travel that day.
Look for local events. There might be you might want to hang out with other people. Even if you're not in totality. The last 3 eclipses, I think I've done events here locally where I live, just for people to come out, meet, set up cameras, shoot the partial. So look for local events, even if you don't go to totality, because things are going to be going on, and I think the whole U.S. is going to see part of this. So,
yeah, everywhere in the U.S. will get a portion of it. Of course, if you're not on the path of totality, you will not get total. And I cannot tell you how many people I have talked to from 2017 who said, well, we were at like 98% coverage. You're either in it or you're not. Like, there is no middle ground on a total eclipse. If you're at 98 or 99 and you didn't make the 10-minute drive to get to total, for shame. For shame.
Yeah. And the path is about 120 miles wide. I know at least where I'm going to be in Texas, but that's a pretty wide area. It's not too hard to go 10 miles down on off-road to get yourself into it, because once you're in it, you're in it. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
You're either in or
even
you're
if you only get it for 30 seconds, at least you got it. But yeah, don't be that person that made the effort to go 99% of the way there and not get into totality. I think that's worse than actually just missing it completely, because it's like you made the valid effort to go and didn't just push it a little bit further. So don't be that person.
Now, I've been reading some other things to do. Make sure you watch the shadow of the moon coming if you can see it. So before it gets to you, you're actually going to be able to see a black spot on the Earth moving across the Earth, coming at you and going away from you. So that's kind of something cool you might think about when you're doing it. There's another cool thing I haven't done, but it sounds kind of neat. Some people recommended putting a thermometer and putting a camera on it, because you're going to have like a 7-8 degree temperature drop just from the 4 minutes of darkness. So that might be something else fun to try.
Yeah, you can do all kinds of little experiments with it as well. So that's a good one right there. Are there any filters besides solar filters that I could use on my mirrorless with a telephoto lens?
Yeah, big neutral density. I mean, heavy neutral density.
Yeah, that ND 100,000 or a dedicated filter. If you want to risk your investment with anything else, that is completely on you. But if you want to shoot the eclipse before and after totality, you will need a dedicated solar filter. If you do not use that, you are completely... And honestly, there's no reason you can't get it at this point. There are so many options out there to get affordable filters, whether you want to go high end to get an ND 100,000 that threads on, or you just want to get like one of the Daystar Celestron little cardboard fold-up ones. There's no reason you can't have a real filter for it. So be safe with your stuff.
And I know everybody ramped up production this year, so they still have filters available, but you got to get them now.
Yeah. I would really not wait much longer. And if you can get them and you can get them on time, I would say February is like the crunch month, because you still have about 4 weeks to get it and still have time to test it. Once you dip into March, you are really skirting it at that point. You don't want to mess with that. So What else is going on in the tech world, Alex?
Well, I saw some things about people getting ready to do the Messier Marathon. March is a
Oh
good month
yeah,
for
that's coming
that.
up.
Yeah, so there's some things, and usually when people put them together, they'll put together like a little flyer on kind of what you need to do because there's two or three tricky targets you have to get right when the sun goes down if you want to get them all. Um, M17, and I think there's an 80 as well that you got to get right away.
I think it's like M73, M74,
Yeah, something
and
like
yeah, I
that.
think there's like three or four that are really tough from the early twilight hours. In the morning and the evening are pretty tough at times, and I think they're galaxies too, so that makes
Yeah,
it worse. So,
yeah, and
but yeah, the
if you're using an automated system, here's my one recommendation. If you're using an automated system like an Eagle or an ASI Air or I know there's a few more out there, turn your auto flip off when you get up near the 80s. Otherwise, you're going to be spending half your time slewing back and forth to targets. So if you turn it off, it'll just jump from one to the other. So that's a tip will save you some time when you're up in the 80s.
yeah, and it's pretty cool if you can get it. I think I've done like 105 or 100. It's been years since I've actually sat and done the Messier marathon, but um,
Two
you'll have
year
to check what we can get. So here, every year is different on how many you can technically get. So,
Yeah, 2 years ago I think I got 73. So the clouds came in at about 3, so it kind of wiped out the morning.
uh how many can we see here in Arizona? I don't know. I'd have to look. It does vary from your location and it varies on what time of the month it's done because it depends how long the night is and where the moon's at and stuff like that. The big Messier marathon here in Arizona, the All Arizona Messier Marathon as they call it, which takes place near Quartzsite out in the far western part of the state, um, is a month from today, actually. I think it's March 9th is
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right.
that event. I won't be there. I've got other stuff going on, but hopefully you guys can get out there and do it. Dress warm. So, um, but yeah, about a month from now is when the Arizona one. I think that's new moon for the month of March. So I don't know how many you can get being early in March. I don't
Yeah,
know if earlier is better or later.
a lot of times they get scheduled in April, but with everything else happening in April, I think moving it to March is a good idea. Um, Speaking
And
of
our April's going to be
April,
pretty.
yeah,
Yeah, April's going to be. Well, I know we've been talking about the eclipse, so but for those of you who actually want to see Skywatcher in person, we will be at NEAC and NEAF. Our whole crew, Alex, myself, Jared, and Jeff will be there at NEAC and NEAF. We'll see what kind of fun stuff we have to show for you guys. There's a lot of stuff on the burners. There's just a lot of stuff we can't talk about or show yet. So we'll see what's ready by then, but we'll be there at NEAC and NEAF in April. It's like the third week of April this year, I believe. So I don't have the in front of me, but that should be kind of cool to see some cool stuff there.
yeah, and that's really a fun event. If you get a chance to get out, you get to see all the new products. You get to talk to everybody about what they're doing and what they're bringing up. They have the NEAC. They have some incredible speakers. I remember one day, I don't remember who it was, but they had Robert, and then the guy who does all the solar stuff. So they had the sun and the moon in the same, like back to back, and we you get all kinds of incredible people there that are going to talk about their gear and how they shoot and what they're doing and their projects, and it's a great time to get out, meet like-minded people, and talk to people about the industry. It really is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think it's a good time for you to get a good idea of just what's out there and what's available. That's why I like star parties too. So if you're heading out to the Messier Marathon, and you actually have a star party going on, or you're coming to the Eclipse event in Texas, that's where Skywatcher's gonna be going, or just any star party in general. It's cool to just be able to see different equipment there. So if you're looking at an HEQ5, maybe go find someone who has an EQ6R and ask them what they, because they're everywhere.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
ask what they think of it. So,
Yeah, and everybody wants to tell you about their equipment. So walk around, talk to
Hmm.
people, see what's out there. It's a lot of fun. And, you know, you might help somebody, somebody might help you. I've loaned cables to people, so if I'm out and you got a problem, see if you can find me. Usually I have extra cables and stuff with me. Um, people have similar issues, so a lot of times if you're having an issue, somebody can help you out with it. And star parties are great places to learn because there's people everywhere. Again, like-minded people, and everybody wants to help. If you're having an issue, we're all going to get our input in there. Hey, did you check your level? Did you do this? Did you do that? Did you? So, and it's a lot of fun to get together with people and problem solve that way. It helps, and it could help your future setup.
Yeah, just don't bring stuff you've never tried to a star party because people are there to enjoy the star party and they're willing to help, but within reason because you don't want to take someone away from what they're doing for their trip because you didn't plan accordingly or something like that. So you want to please take the time to learn. And if you have issues, then ask, but don't rely on someone else who's there to also enjoy the event. Um, and they have to stop. It's happened time and time again at events, and it does get rude and it's not very respectful of other people that are there. Again, people love to talk, they love to help within reason, and um, just don't overtake someone else's event because you didn't plan accordingly.
Yeah, and with any kind of event, stay flexible. You never know what's going to happen. Um, you know, Again, I've had nights where I set something up and I'm like, this ain't working. What's going on? And I pull
Mm-hmm.
out another scope and put it on and just go, or I mess around with it and get it dialed in and then continue on. But stay flexible. If you've got another scope, bring another scope. If you want to try something out you've never tried out, and you have another mount, bring another mount. At least that way you have something running and doing your thing while you're messing around with the other stuff. Um, when you go to these kind of things like the Messier Marathon, we're up all night doing stuff. So, you know, you can always work on things through the night while you're doing your imaging or while you're checking out the visual or while you're chasing down Messier targets from the catalog. You got a whole night. So if you want to practice and play with stuff, you can if you have a secondary mount or, if you just decide that's what you're going to do. If I do that, I'll go and kind of hide in a kind of an off area so that I can run my stuff all night. I mean, people come by and talk, but that's where I like to experiment out of the way, kind of, so I don't have to deal with, oh, can I look? I'm like, yeah, this one isn't quite working, but this one is. Let's go look over here. Um, so, be flexible. Bring extra gear, bring backup gear. Have a backup cable for your cable. Those are simple things
Yeah,
that fail.
it's always the USB.
Oh
So
yeah, always have extra cables with you. And again, it doesn't always go to plan, but if you're flexible, it can work out very well for you. I find a lot of times,
mm-hmm.
especially with photography, it's not my A, B, C plans that work. It's the F and G's that become the
Yeah,
best shots I've ever gotten.
but just make sure you've got the right stuff. Another question on Eclipses: loaded 800 millimeter f6.3 Nikon Z9, so it's full frame. Have shot 2 weeks using the 1.4x teleconverter to 1120 at f9. Would that be too close for solar activity, or should I shoot at just 800 and crop? Well, Alex was talking. I was calculating this. Alex, I don't think you can see this one, but the red box, you guys, right here, this is the 1120 millimeter focal length that with the 1.4, and then you'll see the outer yellow is 800, and I just put the ZWO 6200 because I knew it was a full frame camera on a whim. So honestly, both these field of views would work. I would almost lead to just doing the 800 millimeter native, no crop. And the reason being is it's going to give you all that room around it to get the Corona, which is the goal here. You could do the 1.4, but if I had to pick one right now, I would do the 800 to give yourself room. So there's the disk of the sun. Red is the 1120, and then yellow is the full 800. It just seems like it would fit better if you were doing the 800. So that would be my choice at that point. Let me get rid of these. There we go. Okay.
Upcoming
Oh, and this
Eclipse,
is riding on a GTI. So
upcoming Eclipse notes. If you guys, I got people getting stuff in for repairs right now to get ready for the Eclipse. Repair right now is running about 3 to 4 weeks. If you have an issue and you need it in, get a hold of us so we can get it back to you in time. Parts, we have a lot of people pulling parts right now that need things for the Eclipse and other stuff. So our parts are a little bit backed up. Please be patient with us if you need something. Parts are taking about 7 to 10 days to go out right now. So just to let you guys know, we have the stuff. We just need a little bit of time. Again, we're running out of time for the Eclipse. So if you got something going on, either get a hold of us or order your solar classes or whatever you need to do. But make it happen this week, guys, because it's going to get crazy as we get closer.
Yep. Oh, just a comment here. If you have an Ioptron CEM mount, I'm sorry. Set the flip to 2 degrees past the meridian, which is 8 minutes past the meridian here at Texas around Waco. So there you go for that. Someone's asking what kind of lubricant we use on our mounts.
Super Lube.
It's called Super Lube. And they make this is Super Lube right here. You can get it on, this is Grainer. I'm sure Amazon has it too. This is what our mounts use. I'm sure many of you have your own thoughts on what kind to use. But this runs from negative 45 degrees to 450 degrees. So it's very stable. But Super Lube is the name of the lubrication grease that is used on the Skywatcher gearing assemblies. So hopefully that helps. How much does the Bino setting change the flex tube Dob F ratio?
Oh, that's a good question.
I mean, it shouldn't. I mean, the F ratio is literally whatever the curve of the mirror is. So that is change. That does not change.
Right. So we're dropping it down. So we're moving the focus point out. So we're just moving basically the end point.
Yeah. So, but the F ratio is still the same. Your field of view is still the same. It just comes down to what kind of optics are needed to make the Binoviewers assembly actually work. So a lot of times you need to use some kind of corrector. It's like a 1.5 or 2x plus the lenses that you're using. So it's like a Barlow. But the field of view and the F ratio does not change on the telescope itself because that is ground into the mirror at that point. So should be good there. We blew through an hour really quickly. So
holy cow.
Some other things that I know, Alex, you've got a list there, but for the Eclipse and going to events, there's things that you just probably want to remember.
Use the bathroom before totality.
Yeah. Yes. Use the bathroom before totality. If you're going to a star party, bring a red flashlight. And if you have a red headlamp, angle it down. Just because it's red doesn't mean you're not lighting up everyone else, and those red lights are a lot brighter than you think they are. Just because they're red doesn't mean it's great.
Your eyes have spent a half an hour collecting all that rhodopsin. You don't want to blow it out with lights. So
yeah. On the Binoviewer question, I know the tube length is actually retracted, but it's because it's moving the focus point in a different, it needs to go further in. Binoviewers need to go further into the system in order to catch the cone of light and get it to relay through all the prisms or mirrors that are in there. So the F ratio is still the same, but we have to reduce it so we can get to the focus point and relay it. But the F ratio still stays the same. You're just pushing into the cone more to catch it. So, any other comments you want to throw in there, Alex?
Yeah, I got a list of stuff. If you're going to go to the Eclipse, I got a list of stuff you don't want to forget. Camera, binocular, safety glasses, snacks. If you have any kind of medication, make sure you have that with you. Toilet paper might be good if you're at a remote location. Hand sanitizer, chairs, extra eyeglasses. For me, I need an extra pair. I hang these around my neck, but I always need an extra pair because I set them down. I'm like, oh, I can't see anything now. So don't forget that. If you got kids with you, make sure you got stuff to entertain them with. Power adapter, hats, pillow might be nice if you're laying on the ground looking up. Don't forget a chair. Um, just a lot of little things like that. Make sure you get a list so you're ready, you're prepared, you've got everything you need. You don't want to get there and be like, oh, I don't have a battery. You know,
Yeah.
make sure your batteries are charged, make sure your cards are empty, all the same stuff we would do for anything else. Let's just make sure that we're prepared so we don't get surprised.
Yeah, I'll be the first one to admit that I would think about my telescope rig day in, day out, what I'm doing for that, but I am terrible at remembering everything else. So, all the stuff Alex just mentioned, I'm also bad at just doing that in most of the star parties anyway, is all those comfort things that you're going to need when you get to your site, because a lot of these sites are fairly remote and they're not made for comfort. So do your best to be able to. Knee pads, that's a good one too, especially if you're going to be in an area that has a lot of thorns or cacti. So
Yeah, and I heard a good
it's
one.
not a bad idea for us out here.
Some people brought a big ice chest with a whole bunch of stuff and a barbecue, and as soon as it was over, they like cook lunch while everybody left because 90% of the people, as soon as it's over, they're gonna poo.
Yeah, you don't want to be battling that traffic. I have horror stories from friends who did that in 2017. Terrible. Just get comfortable. Don't go anywhere until Tuesday. Just hang out and just relish in what you just saw and enjoy it and check out your pictures and talk and share. And then Tuesday go home. So,
Yeah.
but you don't want to be stuck in traffic after you just had an awesome experience.
Yeah, and talk to people, have fun. Everybody's there for the same reason. We're all, like-minded people. We all want to do the same thing. So have fun, and make sure to be flexible. That's the big thing. Um, you don't want to get upset and trip over your mount and then not be able to get it set back up in time. So, um, you know, take your time, get things set up, put your stuff in a safe location so you don't have to worry about people tripping over it. All the simple little things. There's a lot of common sense when it comes to something like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now if you need parts for your Skywatcher stuff, like counterweight bolts or caps or battery covers or just nitty gritty stuff, and you need it for now is the time to get it, because like Alex said, it takes 7 to 10 days for us to get parts out, especially because we're getting ready to do inventory, so things are going to get a little weird at the end of the month. So now would be the time. If you need it, give us a call, or give Alex a call, or email us is even better, so we have a chain, and then we'll see what we have available and we'll get that taken care of. But if you need some kind of part, now would be the time to get it. Oh, and speaking of parts, because this happens a lot, is if you call up and you need a motor board and you're like, well, I'm just going to order like 4 of them. You're not getting 4 of them because we need to save inventory for repairs and stuff. So if you need one, perfectly fine. But we're not here to bulk ship motor boards and electronic boards for people to inventory for themselves. We have them for a reason. We have them for our customers, and we are more than happy to sell you one, or if it's a warranty thing, take care of it for you. But if it's electronic boards or something electronic, don't call us up asking to bulk order a handful of them, because they're expensive and they take a while to get. So
yeah.
But if you need some screws and stuff within reason, we'll help you out where we can. But
yeah, and
don't
a lot
get
of times,
greedy.
people, you can just message me, hey, what's the size of this bolt? I'm gonna run over Home Depot and get one, and that's easy. I just
Yeah, we
pull
have
out the
thread
little thing.
checkers. So
I'll go pull a thing. I'll check it. I'll get you the numbers so that you can go get them. And most of the stuff you can find, a lot of these bolts and stuff you can find at any home store. Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace, they all carry something similar.
if you really want nice stuff, then you go to McMaster Car online, because they have everything. Stainless steel, all kinds of crazy stuff. So, but it comes at a cost and it takes time to ship it. So, but yeah, that's a good thing to cover too, is if you need something in a pinch, just let us know what you're looking for. And if you could send us a picture for what exactly you're looking for, because everyone has different terminology and it just becomes really confusing. So it's like, I need this screw right here. great. That makes our job a lot easier. And it also makes Alex's job easier, as well as our team on the back end who takes care of your stuff. You
Yeah.
can do that too. So.
It's literally heart crushing to me when we get a part out to a guy and then he messages back and he goes, "This isn't the right part." I'm like, "Oh man, how did we do that?" You know? All right.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to get the parts because I want you out under the stars. I want you using the equipment. So, a little picture,
Yeah,
even a picture,
we don't want you having a bad time.
even if you just like get a picture from the manual, circle it, put a little arrow pointing to it, send it to me. That's usually good enough for us to figure it out.
And if you are under warranty, just provide right off the bat. Just for the record, we don't need a whole biblical scripture written out in an email. Just give us bullet points of what's going on. Because if you write out all the nitty gritty that's going on, it makes it really difficult for us to be able to rummage through and find what the issue is. So the repair team or whoever needs to take care of it. So just be very clean and to the point of what you need and what's going on with it. Because if we have to go through and read through a book to figure out, I was out on the 14th of July in 1970. No. Please just get to the point, because there's a lot of people in line and we want to make sure you're handled correctly, but we can't spend a ton of time rummaging through a massive email of text when all we need is like 1 or 2 sentences of what actually happened or whatever you need. So please keep it short and to the point, especially with phone calls. Short and to the point. Just let us know what you need and we'll get it done. But I know a lot of people like to sit and talk shop, that's fun, but within limits.
Now I know we have a lot of educated watchers here, so that's great. I don't want to get a call from any of you on the 5th, okay? Get out there and practice. Use the stuff. If you got an issue, call me next week, and we'll work it out and get it taken care of so that you're happy on the 8th, and you can get all the images and view the Eclipse the way you want to.
Yep. Well, cool. Well, I don't see any more questions either, but thank you all for hanging out with us. Alex, thanks for joining us this morning.
Sure.
If you guys need any assistance, you can always email us at support@skywatchusa.com, or you can give us a call. All that's on our support page. Next week, we're on the What's Up Webcast. We're talking portable mounts. So Star Adventure GTI, AZ GTI, Solar Quest. We're going to be going into the nitty gritty of those mounts. And so should be fun. And then hopefully at the end of the month, we will have Gordon Telpun. He's the one who makes the Solar Eclipse Timer app. So he will be on. We'll have Gordon on talking about that. And then next month we have Mr. Eclipse coming on, like right before we head to the Eclipse. So Fred Espinek is going to be on with us. That's going to be really cool. That will be our March special guest. And then Simon is coming back to talk solar, nice. I believe, as well. It's going to be a lot of solar-based stuff until the Eclipse is over, because everyone's got questions. So, but other than that, that's pretty much it, guys. We burned through an hour. Alex, thanks for hanging out. And yeah, we'll see you guys next Friday. So have a great weekend. Clear skies. Stay warm out there. And we'll see you guys next. Oh, it's New Moon weekend, too. So if you're going out, stay really warm. So
bye, Skywatchers.
But yeah, we'll see you guys later. Take care. See ya. Bye.